When the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt appeared over Western Europe in April 1943, few German pilots considered it a serious threat. At first glance, it looked more like a flying engine than a fighter aircraft. With a maximum combat weight exceeding 7,500 kilograms, the Thunderbolt was the largest and heaviest single-engine fighter ever to enter World War II combat. Luftwaffe pilots flying the Messerschmitt Bf-109G and Focke-Wulf FW-190A were accustomed to compact, agile aircraft designed for tight maneuvering. Compared to them, the Thunderbolt appeared bloated and slow. German pilots quickly gave it mocking nicknames, including Flying Milk Bottle, assuming that its size made it an easy target. Early encounters seemed to confirm this belief. The P-47 did not turn well, climbed slowly, and struggled in classic dogfights. To German pilots in 1943, it looked like an aircraft that had no place in air superiority combat. The P-47 was not designed to fight the war the Luftwaffe expected. Republic Aviation's chief designer, Alexander Kartveli, anticipated that air combat over Europe would take place at extreme altitudes. His solution was to design a fighter built around power, not agility. At the core of the Thunderbolt was the Pratt & Whitney R2800 double Wasp, an 18-cylinder radial engine capable of producing nearly 2,000 horsepower. What made the aircraft truly unique was its turbo supercharger system, located deep inside the fuselage and connected by long ducting. This allowed the engine to maintain full power above 30,000 feet, where many German fighters lost significant performance. However, this advanced system added complexity, weight, and maintenance challenges. The result was an aircraft that performed brilliantly at altitude, but demanded skilled pilots and new tactics to be used effectively. The Thunderbolt's early combat record was far from impressive. American pilots, transitioning from lighter fighters, often attempted to fly the P-47 as if it were a Spitfire or a Bf-109. This proved disastrous. The aircraft bled energy quickly in turning fights and lacked the instantaneous climb rate needed to recover from mistakes at low altitude. Units of the U.S. 8th Air Force reported high losses in mid-1943, both in training and in combat. Several aircraft were lost to accidents caused by unfamiliarity with the turbo supercharger system and the Thunderbolt's high landing speed. German pilots, observing these engagements, became increasingly confident. They believed the P-47 was an interim aircraft, powerful but poorly suited for air combat, and that it would soon be replaced. What German intelligence underestimated was the Thunderbolt's structural strength. The P-47 was built like a flying fortress. Its massive airframe, thick wings, and extensive armor protection around the cockpit and engine allowed it to absorb punishment unmatched by most fighters of the era. Unlike liquid-cooled inline engines, the radial R2800 could continue operating even after sustaining significant damage. Combat reports documented Thunderbolts returning to base with dozens or even hundreds of bullet holes. In one famous case, an aircraft landed safely after being hit more than 200 times, damage that would have destroyed nearly any other fighter. Pilots began to realize that survival rates in the P-47 were dramatically higher. An aircraft that could bring its pilot home, even when badly damaged, quickly earned trust. If the Thunderbolt's durability kept pilots alive, its firepower killed the enemy. The P-47 carried 8.5 caliber Browning M2 machine guns, 4 in each wing. With 3,400 rounds of ammunition, the aircraft could sustain long firing bursts, something few fighters could match. At full output, the guns delivered approximately 6,000 rounds per minute, creating what pilots described as a solid stream of fire. At combat range, even a brief hit could tear off control surfaces, ignite fuel tanks, or disintegrate an aircraft entirely. German pilots quickly learned that frontal attacks against the Thunderbolt were suicidal. The aircraft did not require precise marksmanship. It relied on volume, density, and destructive mass. By late 1943, American pilots had learned how to fight the P-47 properly. Instead of engaging in turning combat, Thunderbolt pilots exploited altitude and speed. The aircraft could dive at speeds exceeding 480 miles per hour, faster than many German fighters could safely follow without structural failure or loss of control. This led to widespread adoption of boom and zoom tactics. P-47s attacked from above, fired a single devastating pass, then climbed back to altitude using their superior high-altitude power. These tactics gradually reversed early losses. By the end of 1943, German pilots began to avoid combat with Thunderbolts whenever possible, especially at high altitude. In January 1944, the introduction of the P-47D-22 transformed the aircraft's performance. The addition of a paddle blade propeller significantly improved thrust, climb rate, and acceleration, particularly at low and medium altitudes. This upgrade eliminated one of the Thunderbolt's remaining disadvantages and made it competitive across the entire flight envelope. The sound of the new propeller produced a deep, thunderous roar that became instantly recognizable. German ground troops soon learned to associate that sound with imminent attack, destruction, and chaos. With external fuel tanks, the P-47 gained the range necessary to escort American bombers deep into Germany, until longer-range fighters became available in large numbers. But it was in the ground attack role that the Thunderbolt reached its full potential. Capable of carrying bombs, rockets, and napalm while retaining its machine guns, the Thunderbolt became a terror to German ground forces. German soldiers referred to it simply as the Jabbo, short for fighter bomber. Thunderbolt units destroyed thousands of locomotives, rail cars, fuel trucks, and armored vehicles, systematically dismantling German supply lines in France, Belgium, and Germany itself. By the end of World War II, the Thunderbolt's impact was undeniable. The United States produced over 15,600 P-47s, supported by an industrial system that never slowed. American pilots typically received 400 or more flight hours before entering combat, while German training hours dropped to less than 100 by 1944. Even senior Luftwaffe commanders, including Adolf Galland, later admitted that the P-47 had been underestimated. It was not elegant, but it was perfectly suited for a war of attrition. The aircraft German pilots once laughed at became one of the primary tools that destroyed the Luftwaffe, not through finesse, but through power, endurance, and overwhelming production.